All right, sorry about that delay. Treasurer's report, JP.
Yes, so the two things that are on there, one is we're opening up a bank account. It's at Beneficial. I had some follow-up with the banker on Thursday or Friday of last week, so we're just kind of in the holding pattern until they get everything all situated, and we can then open the bank account. And then we're still trying to figure out QuickBooks on how much it costs and how it works, but once we get a bank account, we're going to have to start accounting for our dollars, and that's where that is, and hopefully I'll have a better answer by next time.
Thank you, sir. All right.
So sorry, quick question. When are we supposed to hear back from Beneficial?
She said they're really short staffed, so it could take a week or so.
Okay, so probably sometime this week.
Yeah, I'd imagine this week is probably when it should come through.
Okay.
Okay. You good, JP? All right, thank you, sir. So we'll get into the committee reports, go to events planning. Do you want to start this off, Kurt?
Hey, sorry about that. Sure. It's very brief, actually. Actually, the main thing that I'm looking at right now is putting together a casual, informal camp out, just to kind of get things rolling with the community. I wanted to survey whoever's on the meeting today just to see if anyone had any thoughts about any particular dates. I wanted to schedule it like 2 weeks out, and then send an invitation. It's going to be local, somewhere close by in the Bay Area. I have a couple ideas, but I haven't been able to figure out exactly who's open right now. Well, I haven't found good options yet, but I'm sure we'll come together.
Well, maybe when you do start planning for that, we can add that to the agenda, but it wasn't an agenda item today.
Okay. We
can make a note of that and maybe talk a little bit more at the end of the meeting about that. If
sure.
We met not long ago, right? And we talked about some of the stuff we're currently working on with all of us and Spirited and stuff like that. That's do you want to go over that, or do you want me to highlight it?
Yeah, you can take it away. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've just been kind of jumping into this because if all of us can happen, I'm trying to create that channel. I'm in active discussion with Saratoga Springs to see about, coming to a analysis, really, if it's even feasible right now, because their cost of us using the land is actually doubled. We paid $16,000 in 2018, and basically they want to charge us $27,000 for using their land this time around. And she really balked at the number I gave her, showing what we paid before, and she's like, "There's no way we can meet that." But we're still talking. There's also a debt that they're asking for us to pay from 2018 of $3,000 that was not paid for the land use. So I've been working with JP and Sarah, and they've put together a pretty amazing spreadsheet to help organize those thoughts and information so we could approach it better for managing money and stuff like that and ticket prices moving forward. And I'm sure we'll talk probably more about that later on.
What was the $3,000 debt?
So the base price of the land was $16,000 and we paid $13,000.
But was that in the contract we signed with them?
Yes.
Or that you signed with them?
Yes.
Okay.
I was short $3,000 on that.
But are we still the same organization? So if we're signing a contract, right? I mean, from a legal standpoint, there's a difference between legal standpoint and obviously goodwill, right? But from a legal standpoint, are we the same party as we were before and signing on the line?
Well, the only same party is me, because it was essentially a sole proprietorship under the name.
Yeah, but now it's, yeah, but it's the Queerburner group now that's signing. So in theory, from a legal perspective, the group doesn't owe the sole proprietorship. I mean, just something to think about, right? The group doesn't necessarily legally owe them anything because we're not, this is the first time we're signing for them and we're signing as the group, not as the individual.
Yes, I see exactly what you're saying. Does anyone else have any concerns or thoughts they want to add to that?
I mean, no, I think JP pretty much said that. I guess if I could just, for me, it's not like it, don't pay it or not, right? But making sure that the entity paying it isn't us, right? As a technicality. Does that make sense? Like it's you. Like, does that make sense, Toaster?
Joe, you're saying I should write a check for $3,000?
No. I mean, technically, yes. I'm just saying on the books.
Okay.
It's not the entity that's paying it, even though like as a community, like
yeah.
we're gonna raise funds and all that, and it's gonna be paid in your name. But like technically speaking, it's not something that should show up in Queerburners budget.
No, I see exactly what you're saying.
Sorry, JP. I don't mean to like say anything that you didn't already say.
Well, I mean, I understood it a little bit differently, so I definitely can, work with that when I talk to them. Okay. Okay. Spirit is still in concept mode. I am working. The county of Colusa manages the land that I'm trying to get.
All right, real quick, Spidey, do you mind sharing a bit more in terms of like your message there?
What's happening?
I'm only here observing at the moment, but my opinion about that issue is that while it may be true that the organization Queerburners, 501c3 organization, was not the signatory, they are the inheritor of that debt. In my personal opinion, they're the inheritor of the debt. So it's essentially the same group, but in one case you're organized, you were individual, and now you're organized as a group. Now, of course, you could say that legally they're not the same entity. Sure, you could hide behind that technicality, but the debt is there.
What do you mean by hiding? And what do you mean by, I don't think anyone's saying it shouldn't be paid. We're just concerned about making sure the books are things that made sense based on who owes what debt. Like, I'm actually just like a little taken aback by like the language you're using, because I don't think it's anything anyone here was implying in terms of like winning or losing allies.
So it wasn't clear to me that it was not clear to me that you actually intended to pay the debt. Until right now, that wasn't even clear at all. That you.
I mean, I think it was when we were like, but Toaster's obviously going to make an amount out, and we're all going to like be part of a community of fundraising. It's just who's technically making the check. I actually said that pretty explicitly. Honestly, Toaster, I'm going to check in with you later. This was actually like more than I needed right now, and
right,
I have a good meeting.
All right, honey. I'll talk to you later. Okay.
And I did mention the fact that there is the goodwill, right? It was just a comment that legally speaking, the organization doesn't owe from a legal perspective, but there's the goodwill that we just still want to pay it forward.
I got
that was my comment.
I honestly understand what you and Nexus are saying, and I can work with that when I talk to the land. And I do appreciate the feedback. Go ahead, Kurt.
I just wanted to chime in. I actually did not get that just from Nexus. Actually, that the intention was to have this organization take responsibility for that debt. I'm in favor of that because I do. It is the same organizing body that. I mean, as transitions and grows, it's not exactly the same, but it's still, I think we are everything that all of us brings forward.
Yeah.
That so I don't want to hide it. I see what Nick's saying.
I don't think there's any discussion about hiding the debt. It's just approaching it with new information.
I think we should do it very openly and say this is an inherited debt on the books. I don't have any problem with that. So I don't know if we need legal advice on how we approach that, but in my opinion, it's not something that needs to be. It's pretty clear to me what it is, and I don't have any problem accepting that.
Absolutely, I understand. I absolutely understand. Does anybody else have anything else they want to say about that?
I guess before we move forward, or if we do decide to move forward with Saratoga Springs, I would like more details on how we missed that. Like that's a big chunk of money, and I have concerns about owing that for a number of years now and not knowing about that until now.
Well, this is the conversation I had with Carrie there this week was Chaz Knoll was a part of Comfort and Joy. He Radical Fairy, Billy, he's one of the owners of Saratoga Springs. And when the numbers were quoted to me in his conversation with Carrie was, well, is there any chance that they will pay back that $3,000 from 2018? And it was spoken out of the blue, and she just communicated that to me. In the document she provided, that's a copy in the events folder, you'll see where it's not even mentioned in there. So I think I have room to just talk to them about it.
Yeah, I think before, regardless of how it's paid, like before we as an organization decide to take up that debt, I want more details as to like what was actually signed in the contract and like where that came from and
It's
what the
not a
misunderstanding was. Okay.
Before anything is signed, it'll be brought before this body and examined. I'm not doing anything from the hip, and working with JP today, for example. I actually wish I'd have brought Kurt in on some of these conversations too, and I'm really sorry about that, Kurt. But I've just felt like stepping on the gas and just trying to do as much as I can without stepping on toes, and hopefully I'm not doing that. I'm just anxious to see if we can get some stuff, generated for 2021. So can we table more conversation about this with the events team and with anybody that wants to meet about it at any time? Can I get an agreement on that, so we're all on the right page? All right. And then Spirited is strictly in proposal form right now. The County of Colusa, where is the land that I'm looking at, trying to get to be our host. It's just an approval process. I wrote them a breakdown, which is also in their events folders. If you guys want to see it, it's a PDF in there is what I sent them. I was trying to get feedback from other people on that, and I'm not sure. I don't know who read through it, but I'm open to changes and edits, but I needed to get that document out, and unfortunately I wasn't able to get attention to it, I think. Any questions on Spirit? Yes. Wink, you're muted.
I guess I don't ever remember hearing Spirited discussed before. So I'm not sure what it is.
Okay. It's a regional style camp out that I'm working on. I know it's been discussed quite a few times over the last month. So I'm not sure. Where, I mean, because I did message you a couple of times to ask you to take a look at the document, but I'm not sure what the best channel is to reach out to you. I've got like 3 email and I'm just not sure which is the right one to reach out to you on.
Okay, I didn't get any emails from you.
Yeah, I messaged you, I think through the Discord, through the shared area that we're on, and in the communications folder and directly. And I just wasn't, I'd like us to figure out a better way to work that out. Maybe we could work that out at the next community.
I think, yeah, so I think, I mean, at least from, you know, Sarah, I think we talked a little bit about this, like there should be a quote unquote proposal for an event. That event, it should include, you know, things like what's the goal, what, you know, where's the place, you know, all that type of stuff. And then also should be included a budget of some sort to see what the actual economics are, because, you know, as you and I were talking today, Scott, or Toaster, sorry, we want to make sure that it's feasible from a you know, debits and credits aside. And so I think maybe we should think about as a group saying, if we're proposing things, it needs to be some type of proposal. We all bring it up to the board, and then we all then agree that yes, that's a good, you know, that's what we'd like to do as a group, and we want to go forward with that one. And based on the information that we have, we're good to go. So something along those lines. And I think that way everybody has a ability to see what it is, and obviously we'll have to figure out how do we make sure everybody sees that prior to, you know, a meeting like today.
Yes. And then maybe we can work on just a better procedure or process for that together. You know, to make that stuff more visible, so we're all on the same page. Because I don't want Wink to feel like he's being, I don't want to create this thing where I'm knocking his feet out from under him. You know what I mean? I don't want to surprise you with stuff. So I apologize if that came at you with a surprise. I've been talking about it so much that I think we haven't talked a lot, and I was hoping we would actually just talk, but it's just one of those things that I know I've been talking a lot about it, but mostly with financing and just with Kurt and I think some of the, and just, you know, seeing Matt and all that stuff. So we'll talk a little bit more of that maybe at the next communications meeting. And if you want to just check out the proposal, I have it linked here. It's just a cursory outline of what we're hoping to do. That's all it was. Is it okay if I move on? Okay, thank you. I'm just gonna jump to the, so we talked about doing a Queerburner leadership discussion on Zoom, or a discussion with camp leaders, but that's already seems to be happening on a different channel that I think we can tap into. Is that something we need to do? There was talk about trying to opt in camp leadership for projects and communication. Am I getting that right? I think Matt, you were talking about that a lot.
Sorry, what the projects?
Yeah, we had some communication previously about doing more with camp leaders. It was a little bit vague. Is that something I need to have on my plate, or is that something we could just pass for now? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. So this was the discussion that happened on Tuesday, I think, unless there's some other discussion.
No. This is maybe because before that meeting, the last Tuesday meeting, which I'm gonna get into in a little bit. Well, let's go ahead and just table this and unless it needs to come up again. Okay. Is everybody okay with that? Just kind of table this? All right.
Yeah, sorry, maybe I'm having a brain fart, but happy to talk more about that if you need some help.
Right on. And then in a little bit, Spidey will be presenting us something about Queer Magic, which is a Labor Day weekend event that he is working on at Wolf Creek Radical Fairy Sanctuary in Southern Oregon. Our involvement will be largely on the financial side and mentoring, which means their ticket sales will come through our channel for 501c3. And then ultimately, the big goal is to not only create a queer burner related event for that area, but raise $10,000 is the goal for Wolf Creek, so they can redo their kitchen. And I'll let Spidey expand upon that in a little bit. Are there any questions? Because I know that sounds strange when I say sponsored. It's not directly produced by Queerburners. No questions? All right. So I'll let him talk about that.
Just, I guess, so we're just a pass through is what you're telling me?
So I
That
offer my
we're
service as a
collecting money
mentor.
on fee.
What's that?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
No, go ahead, JP.
Yeah. Well, I was just saying, so that's what I was trying to understand. What are the different key aspects of what the event is about? So our involvement is to do, what are the like bullet points, and then how is that happening? I guess it's kind of just.
Well, I mean, it's not carved in stone yet, so we're at proposal stage. But the what happens is the money will come through our account. We'll make sure that the insurance gets paid. His expenses will be covered through his ticket sales. And then what's left will go to Wolf Creek as a donation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand how that aligns with our mission. Just if we were raising money for queer artists, in support, it seems sort of tangential, and that we would be, not that we won't support, but actively sort of putting energy to raising money for a venue's kitchen seems sort of like, it seems like steps away from us that I'm not clear on.
Well, I mean, we're not doing it. The idea is we're basically extending our umbrella to help promote an event, which is in our core. It's going to be largely regional based out of the Northwest. Our name is attached to it. And we're helping promote the event as well. Spidey is the event producer of that. He'll be working within our guidelines and within the guidelines of Wolf Creek as far as what he can do.
It seems like we don't know enough about this to really have context. Do we want to discuss this now, or do we want to discuss this later?
Well, he's going to be presenting here in just a moment. So this committee report is just a committee report, so it's not really the floor is open for questions, and hopefully we're answering them.
But I don't think we have the context to really ask informed questions.
Okay.
I think we need. Sorry.
Can we just wait until he presents and then we can throw some questions at him, or are you asking for questions based on my level?
I think we should just get the information and then we can ask questions. And it
Okay.
might be clear after Spidey presents, like how all of us, or excuse me, Queerburners is supporting his event.
Okay. I can appreciate that, and we'll have the floor open for questions after his presentation. Is that okay? Okay.
Good with me.
Yeah. What's that? I was just if we can save questions for after his presentation. Is that all right?
Yeah, sorry, I said it's good with me.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. And then going into recruitment. So there's a new volunteer group just for volunteers, for people to stay in touch on that we set up on Google Group. Just to let people know when we do need volunteers, because there are people that want to do stuff with us and want to give their time. That goes along with a new or updated volunteer form. Just trying to keep things clean out there, and so it's very positive because we've got some really good responses, and the list is building on that. So there's the links to the form if anybody wants to take a look. And then, of course, that'll be helpful when we start looking to all of us and other events coming up. And then I'm still trying to keep my ear to the ground for anybody that can deal with grant writing, grants, artist management, and stuff like that, for that other leg of the organization that we really haven't dipped into so much, with artist and performer engagement and support. Any questions? All right, Wing?
So, let's see, what did I added to it? So if everyone has seen on the website, the board members were added to the website. So our pictures are there.
Where's the bottom of this page? Oh, I'm in the wrong one.
Yeah.
All right, let me get that. So there's the list. And then the beautiful profile pictures of all the beautiful people. Go on, Wink. I'm sorry.
So, let me just get back. I need to see what we put on there. Agenda. Sorry. Oh, I just wanted to check in with everybody else. So in terms of, there's a lot of email traffic generated by info at Queerburners, especially around our meetings, and just wanted to see if anyone else thought that could, the fact that we're each notified every time somebody says yes, they're going to a meeting, for every meeting that generates probably, 10 more emails.
I think info at Queerburners only goes to you, me, and Joel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then there's events at Queerburners, which goes to me and Kurt. And I'm not sure what other ones are. I was hoping Joel would be here that can go over that.
Okay. That makes more sense then. Okay. So that's a communications thing we can manage there. And then just one more question, in terms of does anyone have issues if we so we have the meetings in the calendar now. Anyone who goes to the website can see the calendar and see that the meetings are there. But it still seems that Facebook is the primary channel that people are, and I guess because for anyone who didn't, there was a Zoom that happened about the Queerborhood on Monday night, Tuesday night,
Tuesday night.
which happened independently of our group, but there was there were probably 60 people in a Facebook message that are involved, and that I think for a lot of us, we got to Queerburners from the Facebook group. So I was just going to say that if we put our meetings as events on Facebook, would we get more participation? So just raising that as a group question.
On the Queerburners main group page.
Yeah. I mean, there's 3,000 people in that group. So
I think any of our public meetings could be published there. Is that what you're getting at?
well, right. I mean, it's basically duplicate the things that are on the calendar. So, because right now, very few people are seeing the calendar. So,
Are we opening up all board meetings to
We
the
do
general
put the
community?
information out there that the meetings, anybody can join any meeting. But we're not, I think the general feeling from the board and participants so far is that there's nothing hidden. You know what I mean? We're open. We want people to be engaged. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
I mean, I posted a link to the calendar, just say, hey, check it out kind of thing. I don't know what the, we have analytics set up on the website, right? So do we know who looked at it, or is that a Joel question?
I can work with Joel on that. So,
Yeah, let's find out if we're getting any attention on these pages.
and I think partly at least I'm thinking, if there were to be a bunch of people who decided to attend board meetings, all we need to do is manage how speaking happens.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any reason to not have an audience, to the board meeting. And if we get to the point that there are a lot of people and a lot of people want to speak, then I think we can work on how to manage that. But I think it's in our interest to seem as open and welcoming and, as possible.
Absolutely.
I mean, my concern there would be publishing a Zoom link on Facebook is opening yourself up to whatever Zoom bombers or whatever, or just trolls, especially in a Burning Man group. I would prefer to have people we could post something, we could post an event and say, contact this person to get an invite, and then we can share that link. So it's not and anyone, unless they're a known troll, we can send them the link.
Can I take a step back? Because I think some of our conversations are getting pretty deep, and we have actually committee meetings where these kind of questions should be hashed out. I don't even the event stuff that I was going over. I mean, I might recommend maybe jumping into one of the committee meetings to get further deep into some of these discussions, because obviously there's a lot of questions and there's some ambiguity that happens here, because we're at our high level with a lot of our discussions here. Can we table this and take this to the communications meeting?
I have one other point that I'd like to make to the board before we do that, which is if Queerburners is going to have some kind of community meeting, I agree that we need to be we need to advertise that publicly and not in a private Facebook chat. I understand that the meeting on Tuesday was not organized by us and it was kind of an ad hoc thing, but if we do want to be truly inclusive of folks, then yeah, I 100% agree that we need to publish that link, or at least provide details to folks on how to join through multiple channels and not a private message.
I got you.
So that's just 2 cents. Like, and again, not saying any one of us was responsible for that here, but that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth.
All right.
Just so Matt, I'm not sure the bad taste. Can you?
He hates Facebook.
I know. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that it?
No,
Oh.
I'm not on Facebook, and having so BMorg especially and Burning Man leads have a really bad reputation of having lots of side conversations with the folks that they want to have side conversations with, and not being inclusive of the wider community. And when there was some Facebook, like I wasn't even in this group. Apparently it's been around for years now. And I wasn't even in that group as a camp lead. And, you know, so if it's happening on one platform in a private message with a bunch of people, that is not an open like call for the community to participate, in my opinion. So if I'm just saying from a Queerburners perspective, like if we're going to host a meeting like that should be going out, yes, Facebook, like a Facebook event with details about how to join if we need people to sign up or whatever.
I need to reel this in because we're really eating into our hour, and I need to start moving on to other things. And this is a conversation that really needs to happen in the individual committee groups. I mean,
I think this is important for the board to hear, though, Scott. Like,
no, you're absolutely right. I
okay.
feel like we're kind of laboring this a little bit at this point. I just and we're eating up like the hour really bad.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm just saying, like, we need to make sure we publish that message and let everyone know across multiple platforms how to join. That's it.
Gotcha.
And I'll shut up now.
Yeah. Okay. And you know, let's go into JP and Sarah about finance and budgeting.
Yeah, so Sarah and I met, I guess it was yesterday probably. And we started coming up with, just so everybody can see, what we're starting to come up with a high-level budget of everything that we need to be, or thinking about things that we need to be accountable for. And just so you guys can see how this is set up, there's a budget, which is something we would have to do, and we need to work through over the next probably month or so to come up with what are the different budgeted items we need to think about. And then each individual event or program would then need to have its own specific budget that would go along with it, so that we could see how we perform as an organization over the year. So you can see the totals in the back. And then, so just to kind of give a little bit more detail, an example would be, let's say the communication team has already come up with some level of a budget of what they think the estimated cost will be this year. This number would be responsible for the individual groups with having, you know, Sarah and I's help for whatever reason, you're making sure math works and, you know, making sure we think about everything that then would be linked to this budget. And then that way we could see, for example, how much it is just to sustain the organization, and then how much are the different things that we want to do over the year, and how does that play into the overall revenue or costs, right, that goes into it. So this is what we put together. We've also included budget templates for each group. So if you're doing All of Us or you're doing Spirited, this would be something that you would need to fill out in conjunction with your proposal of what is the different event, what is it going to be, right, to make sure that we can understand what is the, you know, total operating revenue versus the total operating, you know, loss or whatever. And so this is all in there for everybody, and happy to walk you through how to put this together if you're thinking about it. And that's where we are. Sarah, did I leave anything out?
This thing is heaven. This is such a beautiful job. You guys did great.
And then maybe just another detail, right? So on the left-hand side, right, these numbers would, if we had a budget for, let's say, accounting and auditing services, then there would be a spreadsheet behind that. That would be the budget roll up, because you might have a lot of different details that go into actual cost of auditing services, but then it would be roll up to the one line item on the overall budget.
And I got to say, like, I unfortunately all the numbers I threw at those guys looks like spaghetti compared to this beautiful spreadsheet. This is awesome.
Yeah,
So-
this looks really good. Is this available? I assume this is in our Google Drive, our shared Google Drive. Cool.
All right. Does that answer your question, Matt? It's in the
Okay.
finance folder.
Sorry.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, sorry, I was talking and wasn't, I was on mute. The one thing is I did lock this page to a certain few individuals, so most of you won't be able to access this, but if you want to create, there's a budget template or other things that you can look at of things that we've been working on, and you're more than welcome to look at those and update as necessary.
Beautiful. And then I just want to jump back to that Sarah had said something I want to answer that kind of falls in this area. A couple of things. Yeah, absolutely. On the comment about clear proposals, Sarah, definitely we can do better, or I can do better in that area. And then paperwork on that 3,000, just to tap on that. There's no paperwork on it. As I mentioned before, there was the comment that was made by the person managing the property. So I'm going to take all the feedback that I've got. What's that?
I was just gonna say, yeah, we can, you would, I felt like it was resolved because you had mentioned that you were gonna look into it, and Matt had mentioned like wanting to see the information behind it. So
Absolutely.
I think that's addressed for now.
All right. And then if no questions, I'm happy to tackle that with people. And
Yeah, but I think the main thing is we do need a process when we want to add new programming or ideas for what Queerburners is gonna do. Because it feels like this event that Spidey's gonna share more with us about, it's something that we'd probably want to vote on, make sure that it does fit with our does align with our mission, and we have the capacity to do it, because it's going to pull focus from other things we could be doing and that kind of thing. So I feel like it's something we would all need to.
I absolutely agree with you 100%. The fact that he's presenting today is going to give us a place to talk about it, and then we'll get more information from him as we need it. One more from Ruth, please.
Hey, so my internet's pretty unstable and I don't need to take up much of our time. I've been, at work renaming things, organizing things, rearranging, chopping and changing to try to make things more clear. I'm working on starting a standardized agenda to make things a little easier for us running meetings, and creating a sort of team or committee directory so we all know exactly what's going on and who to reach out to. So if you do have any ideas, though, just let me know and I can try to build it in.
Thank you. All right, so that's all the committee reports. We had a lot of discussion today, and I feel like there's a lot of emotion that kind of came out in today's meeting, and I want everybody has to know that they're going to be heard. You know what I mean? I want everybody to feel, I don't want anybody to feel stepped on. I don't want anybody to feel that they're being left out of a conversation. And if there's a way I can do better at communicating, I am 100% listening and hearing, and we'll do whatever it takes, you know what I mean, to get everybody feeling good about where they're at. All right.
Right. So I have two comments. One is just a request that if someone is speaking, please don't interrupt them. Unless they're just going over a unreasonable amount of time. That probably gets into like time limit for comments that we might want to start thinking about for future meetings. Another point is clearly, like, I think we need to talk to Nexus after this meeting. And as he's not here, I would propose, and I'd like folks to let me know what you think. Like, should we wait and hold off on the details for this event put on by Spidey until we can sync with Nexus? And also, like, maybe do that, like actually schedule some separate time for that, because that might be a longer conversation to dive into the details. And maybe we can do that in an event meeting.
That's a good idea. Maybe we can just go ahead with just a short presentation today and then invite Spidey to an events meeting where we can get into this specifically. We can schedule something if Kurt's okay with that outside of our regular meeting. Maybe sooner if we can find a time for that. Does that sound agreeable, Matt?
I mean, sure. If we can like time limit it to say 5 minutes in this meeting, and then yeah, if everyone else is good with that. Yeah, I'm not the only person here. This is my opinion.
5 minutes. Everybody agree? Okay. So that gives you the floor for 5 minutes to talk to us about your event, Spidey. 5 minutes.
Okay, well, the reason that I am bringing this to Queerburners, well, first of all, let me explain just a quick bit of background. I am the sort of proprietor of a regional theme camp called the Starlight Lounge and Nightclub. We go to the regionals in the Northwest, which are Soak and Critical. And we're not a non-playa camp. We're strictly a Northwest regional camp. And that's sort of by choice. But we are members of very intersectional communities. I'm a member of Nominus. I've gone to events at the men's gathering at Nominus as the Starlight Lounge, brought the lounge with me there. And so I feel like as a member of intersectional communities, I've looked around and saw that there was a lot of a collective mourning, essentially, for not being able to gather. And I preferred to plan from hope, not fear. And so I was looking forward to this fall when we might see a change in the COVID situation. And I immediately began talking with Wolf Creek, the Nominus, the Radical Fairy Sanctuary, to see if we could hold an event there that would be for queer and affiliated, queer and allied burners on the land. Why? One, because we would be putting on a great event for our communities. Two, we would be helping Nominus to raise money so that they can make improvements and on their infrastructure, which will be to the benefit of anyone who is using that infrastructure in the future. And three, to create linkages between Queerburners and Nominus, between the Northwest Burning Man community and Nominus, because we see that as a very fruitful partnership, because essentially the ideas that drive the Radical Fairies, their organizing principles, are very much the same as the 10 principles of Burning Man. There's a great deal of alignment. And of course, Comfort and Joy is a largely Radical Fairy staffed camp that is the anchor for the Queerborhood. So we think this was a great match, a great mixing of constituencies, if you will, that are just natural, that are natural constituencies. And we recognize that Queerburners has done a lot of this work organizationally, outreach and so forth. And we want to make this event available. We want to make it available to the queer community, but particularly the community on the West Coast, because we are, again, are a Northwest regional camp. And so we have concerns and are committed to that. So what we're proposing is a sort of a Burning Man regional-like event at Wolf Creek. It would be heavily attendee, the content would be all attendee generated like a regional would be, or Burning Man. Not like centrally dictated. We would be bringing in theme camps. We would have music and art and all of those things at the scale that we are able to do them. We're looking at about 150 people altogether. We have already sent out invitations to some theme camps in the Northwest to gauge their interest and get them involved, and they are interested. There are some camps that are waiting to see what's going to happen with the Borg and the big decision, and obviously I can't begrudge them that, but we feel that we can get 150 people who are not going to the playa, who are looking for something to do that weekend, and we can essentially provide that for them, and we're really hoping to do so. Nominus is 100% behind this effort. It's gone all the way up the food chain there, and they are 100% behind this collaborative effort. As to what Queerburners gets out of it, I did, by the way, submit a proposal. It was submitted last night, a little on the late side, but I did submit it. What are the benefits? First of all, it's deeper ties between Queerburners and Nominus for future joint activities and for being able to use the property, go up there and use the property as you would Saratoga Springs. Deeper ties between Queerburners and the burning communities of the Pacific Northwest. We are the closest natural constituencies for your group that's based in the Bay Area. So this is a big outreach to that community, and it benefits the base of support for Queerburners and for having events like volunteers to staff events like all of us, and to support your efforts on Playa, which they may not necessarily be doing right now. And then, it's an opportunity to engage at a ground level with something that could, if it takes off, become some kind of annual event. That would be just an extra event for Queerburners and their allies to gather. So I think that those are pretty powerful benefits to Queerburners. And what we're really seeking is merely financial aegis, that is the extension of your financial umbrella over the event, so that we can avail ourselves of some protections and, for instance, get trade rates for nonprofit rates would be a big thing for us, and so forth. Like the benefits of having that umbrella extended over us would be significant, but also the communications piece, which is outreach, which is communicating about the art grants, communicating about the equity programs, communicating about the event itself, and just doing outreach to the broader Queerburner community for this event. I can tell you that Nominus and myself are just as concerned about equity issues as Queerburners. We've had long discussions. That was at the forefront of most of the discussions, and we have essentially 50, if you think about it, if we have 100 standard admissions, and then we have another 50 equity admissions. So that's a fairly substantial equity component to this event. That's a combination of comped admissions from volunteers, low income, pay what you can, art grants, art grant recipients, etc. So,
So I'm gonna get you to start wrapping up there, Spidey, so we can.
Well, I'm done. I'm just wanted to make that final point that, and reading the mission of Queerburners on your website, I don't see how this does not fall within that description of your mission on your website.
Everybody
So
has go ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious about what it is specifically you're asking Queerburners to do and why.
To provide financial aegis, to give us access to the communications network that you've set up so we can promote this event, and just to work with us on these issues, to be a partner on some of these issues so that we can make this event happen more easily. Make it happen. I mean, I didn't do it on my own. I'm working on that right now. I've been working on it for months. But the opportunity to partner with Queerburners on this is significant. So that's why I'm bringing it to you. And I think it would be beneficial for everybody involved.
So, I mean, I guess I'm looking for the specifics of like, are we doing your ticketing? Are we doing your collecting fees? Are we are we the ones like writing the signature for the contract to have an event there? Are we the
Okay.
ones responsible
Right. Got it.
for
So
insurance?
specifics, financial oversight, maintaining the event financial accounts and providing budgetary information, processing incoming payments, refunds if necessary, reimbursements and remittances. We'd like to do that via PayPal because we've seen the figures that other organizations charge for just ticketing and stuff. And it seems to be, it doesn't meet with the equity mission to charge people $10.99 for a ticket to just get access to buy a ticket. So we think that could be handled in-house with a spreadsheet, and we're talking about less than 200 people. Also affecting the donation to Nominis, 501c3 to 501c3. There's certain, it's easier if we could do it that way. Then in terms of your aegis, facilitating insurance coverage if necessary. We're trying to get that through Nominis, but if necessary, providing access to nonprofit rates, advising us with regard to indemnification and other matters based on your experience with your events, and basically placing it under a legal and financial protection of a 501c3. In terms of communication, again, access to that communication infrastructure to help promote the event, solicit theme camps, attendees, volunteers, grantees, and donations, I guess, to host the event page. Doesn't have to be listed as Queerburners. We could find a tiny URL or something to disguise that if you wanted to, but to host the web page and the related Google Forms, and to work on that with our communications lead. And then in terms of registration, that kind of covers the financial piece, which is helping to just manage that registration process, including managing the theme camp individual and comp tickets, and processing of payments and refunds if necessary. And then, of course, just forwarding information on to various people in various lead roles from the registration process. And of course, I did note that if there's somebody from Queerburners who wants to take one of those lead positions, well, those are all comped volunteer positions. All the lead positions are comped volunteer positions, and anybody from Queerburners is welcome to undertake any of those roles.
Sorry, did you have another question, Sarah?
Just when is this event?
Labor Day weekend.
When's
So
that?
the same weekend as Burning Man.
As Burning Man. Oh, wow. Okay.
I just have one very quick question. Is this open to everyone? Because I understand there are some events that are men's only at Wolf Creek.
No,
but
not. No, this is open to, well, it's open to everyone in the sense that anyone can buy a ticket. Sure. I mean, we're going to advertising it internally to theme camps first. We're trying to generate theme camp involvement. So we're going to advertising, and we have already begun advertising to theme camps first.
I think what Matt's asking is just about this radical inclusion, like everybody can get it, can go.
Of course.
There's some limitations, like for minors, I think, is what you're talking
about. Right, it is an 18 and over event. We had to make that decision because of issues having to do with diet and food distribution and the kind of inherent dangers of the property and so forth. And we decided that it was in the best interest of the event to make it 18 and over and have no minors, not have to deal with minors being present. And that was supported by Wolf Creek. Again, their gatherings are only for 18 and over. And so, they understood that.
And so we can do a follow-up at a meeting that's specifically around this. At least the information that you gave us today will give the board some room to discuss, and I'll follow up with you once we have some time to kind of put our heads together. Is that okay?
Sure. And as I said, there is a written proposal for everyone to refer to when you have time.
Okay. I think everybody has that link, and Matt put it in the chat too, if anybody wants to see it. It is in the events folder, in a folder there that says Queer Magic, just so you know. All right. So thank you, Spidey, for your time. We will get you back to you with more questions. and visit with this a little bit more deeply in the coming days. Is that okay?
Sure. And I happy again, there are parts of this that are still becoming. So I can answer questions as best as I can. There are still certain things that we are, that are becoming, and I can only let you know what the state of them is right now.
Okay. Thank you so much. Are we okay running over everyone? Does anyone have to go? I promise I won't keep people any longer than I have to. Okay. So I think Wink was there. I'm not sure if anyone else on this call was there, but there was that Queerburhood meeting on Tuesday. Was there anyone else here that attended that? So it was interesting. They were more interested in talking about how to and correct me if I'm wrong, Wink, because to me it was more like, how can we as a camp help your camp if your camp needs help? You know what I mean? How can we share resources? Is the East Village going to happen as well as the West Village at Burning Man? Because now it seems that the East Village section is becoming much more popular than, you know what I mean? So people seem to want to go over from 7:30 to 4:30 now, with all the energy and engagement that's going on over there. So there's a lot of talk about that stuff. And it was just interesting. And it just was a bunch of camp leads talking about what they can do and what they could do to help people that might need help getting there. Did you
There were no decisions made. It was really just sort of a roundtable nothing was decided, and I think people were gearing up to finish up the questionnaire for directed group sale tickets. So that was part of the, impetus for that sort of Zoom. And I think there's so much unknown, and people, we need to hear more from organization about the event, I think, to make sort of.
Well, it's also really great seeing some of the leadership stepping forward and really taking the flag on some of this, because, Christian from Boz was really vocal and shared a lot of information, and so was Russ from Astropups was very vocal and very excited about the things that were changing. So it's just nice to see that kind of engagement growing with Comfort and Joy tapping out for this year and other camps. So they're like saying, well, how can we help campers get, even maybe just for 1 year, over to another camp? And I talked a lot about like what we're doing on the Queerburners site with our directory as a great way for people to share that information. Oh yeah, so Marianne's doing a call on Saturday. I thought it was last Saturday. Is it this Saturday?
It's coming up, yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like it'd be really worth checking out. I do see it on Facebook. I'll go ahead and see if I can get the link, or someone could add it to our discourse, okay? If they want to be part of it. And I really encourage people to just jump in, and I'm sorry that, there is a segmenting with information, but I don't know. We'll figure out a way to share that information too. Anything else, Wink, that you can think of that was important from that?
Yeah, I think it was, I felt it was primarily sort of a warm up. Like it was the first time people have been actively talking about the event. So just more to come.
And then, so let's see. That's been removed from the list. And just so you guys know, Zoom expires this month. I paid for a year last year. and it's been very useful, but Google Meet seems to satisfy our needs, unless we decide to change that. But I think we're good with just being on Google Meet for now. Would that be, is that good? Do we agree on that? Matt's got a thumb. I got a digital thumb.
Does
Matt,
anyone disagree or have concerns? Okay.
you? All right.
No, I just, some people have strong opinions about video conferencing. So just wanted to put it out there, make sure we're not leaving someone out.
Gotcha. Yeah, I got blasted like a year ago for going to Zoom because there's a couple people that were just really said, this is not right, it's exclusive, and they had all kinds of reasons, but they never participated in anything anyway, so I don't know. Let's see, what's this? Oh, she's got the announcement in there. I see in the chat for Sarah's put the link on Instagram. All right, so that kind of wraps up everything I had on the, is there anything anybody wants to bring to the table to talk about at this point? I think Matt brought something up earlier too, I think is really important. And I'll apologize if, you know, the information that I provide on any level is sketchy for people, but I will do my best to better deliver that. I'm just anxious to run, and I run with scissors sometimes. And sometimes I trip and fall, and I apologize for that. And I will try and do better with communicating. Not stepping on people, I think, is important. It is a little hard from this angle because I'm trying to keep the meeting on track. So, to go back to what happened earlier between Spidey and Nexus was concerning. And we don't want that energy at this table, I think. I think we're all in agreement on that. We just, yes, sir.
I just, I hope it's appropriate to debrief on what happened there. Does anyone have any idea what's going on?
So I've been messaging with Nexus, and yeah, I have some concerns and I want to talk to him. He said it's too late to talk to him tonight. So, but I propose that maybe Scott and I chat with him this week and set up some time. And, you know, if needed, we can meet as a board to discuss his concerns based upon the outcome of that conversation. Is that acceptable?
Very much so, yes.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that he understands, and it sounds like you've already, you know, been talking with him, that he gets a chance to be heard, you know, in an appropriate way. He seemed triggered, and I don't know what happened, so I'm just feeling like he might need support, or it'd be nice to offer support in some.
Yeah, I mean, just me sitting on the sideline watching those dots connect, I was like, oh no, let's pull back. I saw where that car crash was starting to happen. And,
yeah.
I mean, just to be 100% on the table too is with Spidey's proposal, with what he's doing. I love what he's trying to do with it, but I'm not so sure. I have some concerns that I think we need to talk about. And I'm not sure right now is the right time, but
I would propose that we review, like, he does have a pretty extensive written proposal, which I didn't have a chance to review before the meeting. I would propose that we look at that and then discuss either in the next board meeting or events meeting. Is that reasonable?
agreed.
I would prefer the events team maybe make a decision and then propose it to the board, and then we can then discuss it as the board.
Sounds good.
From what I read, it's a lot of liability and a lot of management that we need to make sure we're okay signing up for.
Yeah, and my concerns in that area are growing, especially with the way that like the communication happens sometimes with Spidey outwards. he met with Kurt and I at the last events meeting, and it felt safe to kind of bring it to the table, but we're still on a learning curve for how we are approaching things with event ideas and stuff like that. And you know, it was really helpful that JP and Sarah created that spreadsheet that we could use to punch numbers in. And so we can do better going forward. Kurt, yeah, I know you're on the same page and we're good. So the next events meeting is actually the last Sunday of the month, I think is what it was, or something like that. Yeah, the last Sunday of the month, fourth Sunday.
You know, don't do this in a bubble too, Scott and Kurt and others. Like if you want Sarah and I's help and you want us to be involved or whatever, just let us know. We're more than happy to get involved. I also don't want to step in and be like, direct you on how to do things, right? I think.
Oh no,
I
need this advice. This is awesome. I mean, I gotta say, like, there's sometimes people disagree with me, and I don't have a problem with that. I just don't. You know, there's a learning curve here for me, and I know some of you are more experienced in working in an organization similar to this, but I think all of us vibe really well. And I really appreciate that out of all of you. And you're not afraid to ask the hard questions. I may not have the answer today, but you know, we all get it, and we all have, you know, our goals set. So yes, sir.
And I also think it would be really good for us to sort of outline our expectations in terms of the mechanisms for discussion and argument and, you know, debate. Where that happens. So this, I don't know if it's a good time, but you know, we've got communications meetings that are regularly scheduled, and the events meetings so far, or the committee meetings. And what's the sequence we want to? Does the board want to assign tasks to those groups, then have a report back, or do those groups propose or invite other people to come to meetings on specific, you know, topics? I think pretty much we're all on all of those committees for the most part. You know, like if we have something to contribute to an events conversation, then come to the events committee meeting, right? And this is where the nuts and bolts are going to take place. And if you're not, I mean, I'm asking, you know, I'm not saying that's the way it should be, but what way do we want to do it? And so when do you chime in? You know, after the committee has, you know, debated and come to does the rest of the board then react, or do they get involved earlier and then, you know, come to some sort of more robust consensus that way?
Yeah, and we have a lot of discussion today, more than what we have in past meetings. But yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, in my experience, things get brought to the committees, and the committees kind of work it through and then bring what they're suggesting to the board, and then the board discusses it and then votes upon it. And if there's people that you feel would be very important to have at those committee meetings, you know, to connect with them to say, are you going to be able to make this meeting? I think it would be good to have your expertise there for this particular one. Because, you know, because we are on all the committees, ultimately, like we can't make all of the meetings all of the time. So I would say the one thing I would like to share, because I'm not so sure I'd be able to make that meeting, is from working, because I work at an opera and deal with ticketing, like that is a commitment unto itself. And then for us, and then also for it to be like, and then we want you to use this thing for the ticketing, which isn't a ticketing system. It's just, I mean, that's basically like a job. It's a, you know, a solid part-time job, and then running up to burn week. And so whoever is in charge of ticketing now has a part-time job on top of, if they're trying to get to their own, if they're trying to get supplier, they're trying to get to whatever, they have to be dealing with refunds and things like that. And the other thing I just say we need to consider is, you know, usually when you're a pass-through for another organization like that, there's a certain percentage that you do take of the revenues that come in, because there is work that's involved. And the liability taking on the liability isn't a joke. If something happens, it's on us as an organization. It's ultimately our event.
Yeah, that's a big worry.
'Cause we don't have insurance, right?
We don't, I mean, the event would have insurance.
Right, but like, it seemed like he was looking to Queerburners to be the insured. So if I understood him right. So
If I understand his process on this, it would be out of his ticket revenue, we would pay for insurance. And we would have to, because I want our butts covered no matter what. You know what I mean? If our name is even slightly attached to something, I want to make sure it's insured. I did find another insurance that could cover the organization that's not too expensive, but that's something I could visit later on when we do actually have revenue and cash flow that we can talk about that kind of thing. Yeah.
There's different kinds of insurance. There's the one that covers the board, and then there's event specific insurance, which is like for this weekend at this event insurance.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, folks, everybody, are we in a good place?
Can I ask a quick question about the meeting schedule? So you said there's an event meeting at the end of the month. I don't see that on my calendar. Am I doing something dumb here?
No.
Or
Okay, because I was sure I put it on there.
it says it's April 25th. Yeah.
It's on the group calendar. Your name is probably not on it. You want me to invite you?
could you just send me the link again for the group calendar? It's like gone. I don't know what happened.
Okay, let me work that out.
Yeah, we'll work it out offline.
Yeah, when you
Sorry.
get that link, will you send it to me too? I think I'm missing it.
All right, I'll put it on the Discord
Discord.
as soon as I can get that. All right. Yeah. So, I mean, I know there was a lot of energy that came kind of charged in our meeting today, and come on, what are you doing? Oh, all right. Sorry, this thing's being stupid. I'm losing everyone. All right, there we go. So I appreciate everybody being here, everybody being present. All the really good feedback today, the good questions. I really appreciate your time. And then you can see in the agenda, our next meeting will be at the first Monday in May. Okay. All right, folks. Thank you for everything.
Thanks.
I'm gonna go ahead and stop the
Thank
recording.
you.